Hello, I'm Paul Woodward. I am currently the guest editor of Exhibition World, and today for this edition of EW Sessions, I'm delighted to be joined from Mexico by an old friend, Jose Navarro. Jose, everybody in the industry knows you as Pepe. Welcome to this session. Lovely to see you. We have coming up in just a few weeks now the UFI Latin American meeting, which will be taking place mainly virtually, mainly online, although I gather that some of you are planning to travel to be together to begin to get this back on track and have it live. So that's coming up in August, I think.
Yes, it's coming up in the second week of August. We're going to get together and talk about strategies and how things going in Latin America. But the first thing is to communicate that we have to live with this COVID, with this situation, and we have to take care of the precautions of to be able to work without getting sick. So it's going to be an hybrid event. Part is going to be digital. We want to reach all the community in Latin America, but of course we want to see each other and talk about the future strategies.
Future is really important, obviously, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But I think a lot of people as well will be keen to hear where you're actually at, and maybe we'll start with Mexico. Where are you today, and what sorts of shows are taking place, and what do you have coming up in the rest of the year, both for your own Tarsus business and also with some of your colleagues from elsewhere in the industry in Mexico?
Yes, Paul, I'm located in Mexico City. For the people who don't know, Mexico City is basically very centrally located within the country. And we've been here for more than 2 decades doing business as an international company. And we have developed several events. We have 14 shows a year. Last year, as everybody around the world, we had to postpone most of them. We were able to do some in the beginning of the year, just before February, but then we had to postpone most of them. Just only one we were able to do in October of last year. And beginning of this year, we had this peak in Mexico, and we had to stop all our plans for the beginning of the year. And then we successfully launched our manufacturing show for the end of April. And it was a very successful show with a lot of visitors, high quality visitors, and very interested exhibitors. They wanted to trigger their economies, and exhibitions it's the best tool for them. So they were happy. Quality was one of the main things they recognized from the show. We have done our beauty show at the end of May, beginning of June in Guadalajara. That it's a beautiful venue, and it's a venue has done very good things to reopen. It's the first venue to really offer a full-time opening for after this pandemic. So we are happy that everything started to move in Mexico. Our venue in Mexico City, Central City Banamex, last month, it was stopped to be a hospital, and now it's an exhibition center again, as well as Querétaro venue. So everything's starting to move, and we'll see positive signs. Companies starting to hire their spaces, and they're putting exhibitions on their marketing mix. So we think that even though 2021 is not going to be a very successful year in terms of financials, it will be very successful in terms of reopening. And I'm sure 2022 will be our comeback year with good numbers. I mean, everybody will exceed their numbers, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, a lot of your fairs in Mexico are quite dependent on international exhibitors, I guess, more than visitors. And that's obviously been a challenge for everybody around the world over the last year. So where have you got to in terms of international participants at your events? How's that shaping up? and not just your own company's events in Mexico, but maybe what you hear from your colleagues across the industry as well.
Yes, you're right. International participation, and mainly participation from United States, Canada, that are the main participants in some of the Mexican shows. Even though we do a lot of shows that have broader international participation, they worry about the participation from international companies because of travel constraints that may be in place from companies. Mexico, it's an open country. It's not requiring people to have any testing or whatever to come, even though to return to their countries of origin, they have to maybe quarantine. Some of them, some of these measures have been released and taken away, sorry. So I think it will start to pick up. Right now, we have been struggling to get the international companies coming with their staff. Some of the companies, what they have done, they have hired companies in Mexico in order for them to present their products with Mexican staff and be able to talk to clients and get the business going. So this will keep on working, towards the 2020-21 year, and perhaps at the end, companies will start to send their staff to Mexico. We already are receiving companies coming from the United States and traveling to Mexico with no problem.
Yeah, very good. And where are you at the moment in terms of the size of the shows? How are they at the moment comparing to 2019? Can you give us a sense of that, where you're back to so far?
Well, the first shows we did, I remember we were 1/3 of 2019 at the beginning of the reopening. Right now, we are around 60% on this in terms of size of show and in terms of attendees as well. Good thing is that the quality it's better, because given the fact that some companies have laid off a lot of people, the people attending trade shows are in a higher level because they don't have staff to send to trade shows. So exhibitors appreciate that. And we see that towards the end of the year, we'll reach the 70 to 75% mark if we compare to 2019.
Mm-hmm. Great. And in many countries around the world, we've seen, you could say that the industry really feels that they've had to come together in different ways, maybe companies collaborating and private sector collaborating with government in different ways. Is that something that you've seen in Mexico as well?
Yes, that's something that it's very positive and help us. I mean, it makes you feel very good, because the best of people come out when you have a crisis, and companies as well. So we saw that for the first shows in October, that there were two organizers. There were us and another organizer in Mexico, very successful organizer, and we thought, I mean, the success of a show is the success of the industry, and a failure of a show, it will be a failure of the whole industry. So what we did is we talked together, and the shows were similar, maybe with some overlapping on exhibitors and visitors. So we worked together and collaborate to produce a collocated show, some collocated shows, and they were very good, because exhibitors appreciate that we did this. There was a cross promotion. We had a lot of visitors, and it was a win-win situation. So I think we have seen this in different venues, and I think this is the spirit of the trade show people. They are able to explore new ways to do things, and collaboration is one of them.
Yeah. Talking of exploring new ways of doing things, everybody around the world has also been, one way or another, experimenting with some of the digital alternatives and maybe accelerating some of their digital and data initiatives. How do you see that having played out in Mexico? Is it the same? Is it developing in a different way? I'm sure you hear what else is going on in the region around the world. And where do you think you're at with the development of the digital alternatives?
Yeah, well, we all in the Mexico Association have had a lot of seminars and meetings to talk about the digital options, and a lot of them that have been released during 2020. I mean, we had a catalog of more than 50 functionalities that produce or are able to help produce a digital show. However, the consensus is that it's a good tool to reinforce and to take a live event to other level, to have a better attendee and exhibitor journey within the show, but it's not a solution because the face-to-face, the live event, it's very important. As we said, none of these strategies, digital or even traditional media, printed media or whatever, brings you a person with a pen to sign a contract. Right. None of them. The only one is the exhibition industry. So it's a good tool. I mean, I don't see any show in the future happening without a digital component. The digital component we expect to happening maybe not simultaneous, because it could cannibalize the activities. It will maybe have a specific content that happens in a specific timing that will be synchronized with the physical event. So altogether will create a good platform for promoting products and companies and sharing important information from one industry.
Sure. Excellent. You're wearing your UFI hat rather than your Tarsus hat. You have a sort of an overview of the whole Latin American region, and obviously it's a huge region from Mexico all the way down to Chile. So a lot of variations. But can you give us a little flavor of where things are around the region, what you're hearing from your colleagues in the major markets around the region, and whether there are any common threads or whether it's all just very different in each country?
Well, we are very similar because we are, we maybe have markets that are not fully developed. So maybe we have the same pains. We see, and they share with me that information, that vaccination is the most important thing. I mean, the level of vaccination rises will maybe communicate more safety for travelers to attend events and other type of reunions. So that's something, the key point that governments have to put emphasis in rising the level of vaccination, and maybe bring it above 40% or 50% of the population being vaccinated at least with one jab. That's one thing. The other thing is that they have mentioned, and I'm very proud that our case of Guadalajara really made a difference, because they were able to assemble a coordination team that was made from people from the government on different levels, chambers of commerce, in industrial chambers, and the owners of the venue, to be able to put together a real effective and comprehensive plan to reopen the venue. That was very important. Of course, the government was involved because they understood that exhibition activity brings wealth and dynamic to the different economies of different sectors. So that was very important. They were able to do it. And now Guadalajara maybe is one of the venues in Latin America that has done the most shows after, well, I cannot say after pandemic, but on these times. So I think this is the two most important things that we have seen on like common comments on Latin America.
That's interesting in the way that others have been looking towards that venue. Are there any particular special features of the venue in Guadalajara, of that business, that you think put them in a position where they could take the lead? I mean, it's you know, is there something to do with the way of the ownership or of that particular city? Because it's interesting in the way that it seems to have been an inspiration to the rest of the region, how they got that venue reopened.
Yeah, I think the inspiration, it's more, and the key success, they have a good leader. I mean, Juan Gabriel Tamés, it's a very knowledgeable guy of the industry. He's been in this industry for years, and he was able, along with the president of Expo Guadalajara, that it's as well a young fella, that they see that in order to open their business, they have to coordinate and do the proper lobbying with the authorities. So they talk to the city government and they talk to the state level, the governor, and explain how important the trade show activity was for the city and for the state. And then the owners of the venue, there were the commercial chambers of different industrial sectors. They were also very worried about the venue not being able to open. So they got together with the executive team of the venue and the government level, different levels, and they put together this team in order to be able to reopen. So the government did their own their own lobby with the federal government, and they put the measures in place and the monies required for that, because they did a great investment, and they proved to be able to open safely for events. So they did the right and the correct things. Everybody was, like we say in Mexico, I don't know how to translate this, but they're always like proactive people, very proactive in different levels.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I think we've all learned a lot of new lessons over the last 12 months in different ways to work together, and some of the things that we can and need to do with the government. So that's a really interesting example of how that can all work. Thank you so much for spending time with us today and sharing your news and experiences from Mexico and the whole Latin American region. It's lovely to see you. We wish you all the very best for the upcoming UFI Latin America conference in August. So Jose Pepe Navarro, from the Director General of TASUS in Mexico, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me, Paul.